Nuclear missile whale plays are usually between $30,000 and $40,000. And then
that makes me sweat.
Game of the years are like 50. But yeah, when I say that, that's usually what I'm betting.
Hanging with the fellas, betting on a game. No woman's gonna tell us what to do, and I've been over here just drinking beer and making that noise. Baby, I'm hanging with the fellas, bussin' with the boys. Bro. There you go. There it is.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 262 of Bussin' with the Boys. Before we do anything, do us a favor right now, subscribe, rate 5 stars, and hit a comment if you're watching on any of the video platforms. Be a friend, tell a friend, text a guy. Our guest today is Dan Big Cat Dude, one of the guys who's been a part of Barstool since it seems like the inception. Talk about his gambling habits. We talk about NFL, part of my take, the inception of doubt, the whole process of how it is to go about and making a podcast the way they have, since they've really been owning the top number 1 charts for the last 5 or 6 years, or for however long they've been doing it, since obviously New Heights has definitely taken over with Taylor Swift. But we have a great show for you today. It's going to be outstanding. Please enjoy this episode. And if you're looking for merch, if you like this t-shirt or anything you guys see, store.barstoolsports.com is where you can get everything you want. Now, let's get into this episode.
Yes. All right, let's do it. Yeah, let's do it.
I think we started.
We got good fodder.
Episode what, 262? Yeah. Episode 262. It is Monday, Super Bowl week. We're with Big Cat. They have Big Cat. Let's go around applause, Big Cat.
Well, the only time Big Cat's been on is when it's just been with me. Now we got all the
I came on the bus in Tennessee when you guys tried to smoke me out. Who's I with?
You were with Brandon because he was about to die.
That's right. Brandon was about to die.
Pass out.
That was a smart move. That was like a Guantanamo move. You guys were like, let's do an interview and make it 110 degrees. He'll start fucking
oh, was it outside? Was it outside?
We had the bus and we didn't have all the
AC
rolling. We had to turn it off, so we're sweating throughout the entire podcast.
Jake, will you tell them to shut the fuck up upstairs? Respect the boys. Respect the boys.
Gotta respect the boys.
Come on.
We were talking before the show about Super Bowl.
Yes.
And how you're in a bit of a dilemma right now.
Yes.
Do you want to talk us through that dilemma a little bit?
Yeah, we can talk through it a little bit. So Patrick Mahomes owns me. Patrick Mahomes is my daddy. It's crazy because I don't root for an AFC team, but somehow I've ended up just getting owned by this guy. He's so fucking good. I've had 4 futures in the last 13 months, all great value that all have lost to Patrick Mahomes. Bengals, Eagles in 2022, Ravens, Bills in 2023. So I never am betting directly against Patrick Mahomes. I'm just putting in these bets in like August, and then they end up Patrick Mahomes kills them. Mm-hmm. So after the game, I was like, Patrick Mahomes, no matter what. Like game of the year, Patrick Mahomes. And now I'm just starting to think, and it's like, the Niners are pretty good. I don't know. So falling back in the trap. Back in the trap.
Are you right now, currently, are you leaning
Niners? Currently, I'm leaning Niners, but I think I need to just suck it up and be like, fuck it, I'm taking Patrick Mahomes. Because at the end of the day, and you guys, I know Will gambled out throughout his entire career. You didn't. At the end of the day, there's something with gambling where you have to make a decision. There's a win and a loss, but there's an extra element to it sometimes when it's like a Patrick Mahomes, a Tom Brady, a Nick Saban, a Bill Belichick, some of these guys, right? Where it's not just win and loss, it's win and loss, and if you lose going against them, you feel like the biggest idiot of all time. Mm-hmm. And everyone says, how did you bet against Patrick Mahomes? And that's way worse.
I love seeing how your brain breaks.
That's way worse. It feels so much worse. When someone can just tweet you and be like, dude, you went against Nick Saban? You're like, fuck. Yeah, I did. I'm an idiot.
Thank God for Michigan dismantling Nick
Saban
in Alabama.
Yes, thank you.
Truly, it has ruined the entire SEC.
Yeah, they're in shambles. They're in shambles. By the way, shout out Billy Basketball over here. I don't know if you know, he's a hoop head now.
Are you? What happened?
Can I say in our conversation?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because it was very funny.
So Big Cat, Nebraska just beat Wisconsin.
Nebraska
beat Wisconsin. That's what we're talking about, right? Yeah. Nebraska beat Wisconsin. I didn't even know that game was taking place. Mm-hmm. And somebody in my mentors was like, hey, I think I tweeted something. Somebody's like, hey, Nebraska, Wisconsin, and OT. And anytime it's like Nebraska, Wisconsin, we just think of each other. I'm thinking of Big Cat. So I turn it on and just catch the overtime portion of the game. And I don't watch any college basketball. We were watching it last night, and it was the third game I've ever watched in Nebraska where they almost beat Illinois. And Nebraska pulls it off in OT. Wisconsin was up apparently 19 at some point in the game.
whatever.
17 or 19.
Tough place to
So
play.
I just text Big Cat. I'm like, hey, I'm sorry about Wisconsin.
And
just
I
because I
lashed
know,
out.
like, he's like, you know.
I
he's
care a lot. I
Wisconsin
care
guy.
a lot. I had actually previously, I think like maybe a few days before, like with all my teams, I'm pretty like, as crazy as I can get, I'm pretty unbiased in the fact that like I know the limitations of my teams. Like I know I'm not supposed to have happiness, but there are certain teams that they reach a point where I'm like, all right, I'm ready to get like emotionally hurt. Like I think they're good. I'm gonna get hurt. That's okay. Like so I reached that point with Wisconsin. I was like, I think they're really good. I'm ready to get emotionally hurt. So he starts texting me like, good game, blah blah blah. And I'm like, this fucking guy. There's no way he watches any of these games. So, and then after that, he talks shit. Then he texts me, he goes, how do you get into the tournament? He asked me that.
He
asked me, he's like, how do you get into the, like, it's like you got to wait for like a wedding invite. He said, how do you get into the tournament?
I said, help me.
You motherfucker.
You want to know what's nuts? I really don't know either.
Well, I said, help me out here.
This is like a bid, right? You have to win a certain amount of games and they say, okay, you're in the game.
But that question, he asked me that question. After talking shit about his team beating my team, I was like, I wanted to punch a wall. I was so mad.
I said, help me understand how you get in the tournament.
Does
Nebraska have a shot here this year? Since they've upset a couple top 10 teams.
Help me understand how to get into the tournament.
They win that one game. You're like, oh, they're going to make it.
Yeah, because I saw
like you were asking, like, is it like the Pope when they do the smoke stats? Like, is that how you get in the tournament? Like, do you stumble upon an invite on the ground? Like, is it like Willy Wonka? Do you find the golden ticket? How do you get in the tournament?
Well, I'm wondering
What's that question?
When they're playing Illinois last night and they're unranked, I'm thinking, why can't they be ranked if they're taking Illinois in OT? They're ranked 14. They beat Purdue, who's number 2. They beat Wisconsin, who's still number 6.
Well, no,
so
they do the rankings on Monday. So we were 6 this last week. We won't be 6 on today. Someone probably has the rankings right now.
So
it's the same as football. How you like if you
football is one game. It's
I know, but if you're
so
like if a team loses and they're like number 1, you're like, how are they still number 1 at the end of the game?
But
I'm saying they got to get the rankings.
If the one team gets upset on Tuesday, if the one team gets upset on Tuesday and they're still playing Friday as a number 1 team, it's kind of like
they don't change.
Why are they still ranked number 1?
They change it week to week.
So
how do you get into the tournament? Like after that loss, and I said I was emotionally going to get hurt, and I even knew we were going to like. I said this is how sick it is. In the morning of the game, I was like, Nebraska's a really tough place to play. I kind of expect the Badgers to lose. And then they went up 17. I was like, oh, fuck, we're not going to lose. And then we lost.
That's how you do a great job with your insurance policies, though. Because I had saw that.
But I was being unbiased because you guys are like 14-1 at home or something.
Solid ball club.
Solid ball club. Boys, we're here for this episode to bring you a sponsor, and that is Twisted Tea. Twisted Tea is a refreshing hard iced tea made with real brewed tea of 5% alcohol, full of flavor, and very refreshing. Twisted Tea goes down smooth. There is no carbonation, which makes it easy to drink all day long. Twisted Tea fuels fun and celebrates extreme fandom on game day, especially during the playoffs and this week, the big game. Twisted Tea is a perfect alcohol beverage for game day, whether tailgating in a parking lot, watching at a bar, watching at a friend's house. Twisted Tea is there to turn up your game day. Grab a refreshing Twisted Tea today. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. Make sure you rate 5 stars and tell your friends. Let's get back to this episode. No, nothing about it. But you brought up a good point about being like having reasonable expectations for your team. JP and I got in an argument on the bus.
Because you sound crazy.
Dog, no. Because listen, it's different. It's fucking different.
It's not different.
Oh, I'm not trying to
You
hurt
don't know
you.
what I've been through.
Bro, it's
You don't
not.
know hard. You don't know hard.
Yes, I do.
Making it to the college football playoff is hard.
Yes.
You don't know what it's like being 0-12.
I know it's like being 2-13 or 2-15. I know it's like being 3-13.
With
I know
who?
with the Tennessee Titans.
We're not talking about the Titans.
Okay,
You
I know what it's like to be 09-13 with Michigan and suck. And all the old players come back and be like, you guys fucking suck.
This is my first year like being a fan of sports. Like,
Right.
truly buying in.
I can't
and
wait to see
lying.
how he does this.
And so my thought is knowing the expectation of Michigan this year,
Yeah,
it's truly national championship or bust. So the stress level is much higher
correct.
than if you're able to look at, we'll just use Wisconsin. Like,
Yeah.
we know Wisconsin didn't have the talent level
Right.
to win a national championship. So
Correct.
the losses don't hurt as much as opposed to when Michigan goes and plays the Penn States, the Ohio States, the Alabamas,
Yes.
and then eventually
Simply
the
put,
Washingtons.
Taylor said it was harder to be a fan of Michigan than it was to be of our teams.
It's harder to be a fan.
And I
of-
strongly
No.
disagree.
It's harder to be a fan.
This year?
Hold on. It's harder to be a fan of a team that you can look at and say, this team can and should win the national championship, as opposed to a team where you're hoping to have a winning record.
Now, more context. Taylor's first year being a true fan,
won a
saying
national
something like
title,
that, you're just
yeah.
thinking, what are you talking about?
So I think,
But I think me being a first year being a fan, well, I guess there's a little bit of
I think
argument there.
this year specifically, that argument is fair because of what happened with Michigan. You knew Jim Harbaugh was going to leave. You knew all the cheating allegations, all this stuff. So I think just in this year. But if you ask, like, what's it easier? Like, is it harder to be an Alabama fan or like a Wisconsin or Nebraska fan? Like, I would take being an Alabama fan all day. They win titles.
Right, but knowing that
This specific
Harbaugh,
year,
all that-
I'll give you. Yes.
But if you have a team and you're like, okay, we could probably win the Big Ten championship this year. Week 2, you play a non-conference game that's hard, and you lose that game. You think, okay, like now I can now take these next 2 weeks or playing some schlubs, some Bowling Greens, and temper my expectations, knowing hey, it might not be the year I expected.
No,
so you get to kind of do a roller coaster as opposed to a big tick.
I don't totally disagree because it is like in sports, it's about windows. Like if you have a window and you squander that window, it's the most devastating.
2019.
But if you're such a fan of your squad, there's that reasonable expectation that is like Michigan in the national title, which is like, Nebraska getting bowl eligible. Or you having your own expectation with Wisconsin, like, we shouldn't be losing these games. Like,
right.
It's still very...
No, they still hurt, but
Yeah.
there is, like, the window argument. Like, I know, like, Hank used to make this argument, and I thought it was kind of bullshit, but I sort of understand it. It applies to the Chiefs now, where, like, if you have the guy, you only have a certain amount of years to have that guy. Like, the Bills right now, that's just... Josh Allen has been playing great football for his career, and they haven't been to a Super Bowl. Like, that's way worse than kind of being in that lower pack where you're like, we're trying to figure it out. Our window hasn't fully opened. Or like a Bengals fan. Like, Bengals fan, you go to the Super Bowl, the next year you lose in the AFC Championship, the next year Joe Burrow gets hurt, and you're like, wait, that was 2 years of our window that just went like that? That hurts. That stings.
As opposed to looking at your team and being like, okay,
I feel like this is
we got to
the way we
rebuild
want
for
it
a
to
year
right
or
now,
two. And then once we rebuild for a year or two, now we can look forward towards the window. So now those losses are more body shots than they are KOs.
Perfect example would be like the 2016 Cubs winning the World Series. Like they won the World Series. That was the greatest thing ever. Everyone was like, just win one. But that team was so young and that nucleus was so good that them not like going back to a World Series definitely hurt. Where it was just like, what? How did this? And then like 4 years later, it was all blown up. You're like, what the fuck just happened? Like, I know it's crazy because like one is enough, but when you do have like what you think is a really good team in a stretch of a 5-year like span, and you only go to one World Series, and you're like, what just happened? Like I thought it was going to be every year. That hurts.
I love that it went my way, and
just for this year though.
Yeah,
Just
for this year because if we look at Michigan now, they lost their head strength coach, who is like the GOAT. Obviously,
the GOAT strength coach is the dude Kirby's got, whatever his name is. He's the fucking best. Dude, he literally won every. He was Alabama's strength coach, left Alabama, and then won back to back with Georgia.
You talk about it? Is it Cochran?
Scott Cochran. He might be the best coach. I actually have the theory that he is the actual GOAT because you guys can tell me if I'm way wrong. I think there's no more important coach in all of college football than the strength and conditioning coach because they get their hands on the players all year long.
No, it's a very fair.
And that guy, he literally won in Alabama, and then he's like, all right, I'm going to Georgia, we win 2.
But by that logic, you would say that the head coach is the least important coach.
No, I think the head coach sets the tone, so I think there's definitely like
sets the culture. But the guys, but if you're talking about hands-on, strength coach is number one, and that would be your position coach. Then it would be your coordinator.
Maybe most underrated coach. That should probably be the better statement.
Yeah,
because it is like people don't see it, people don't know the strength and conditioning coach, but that strength and conditioning coach, like especially in college football, you get dudes that show up and they're like 200 pounds. You're like, you got to be 250 by the time you leave.
Yeah. And now I do need to get some words in before we get away from that.
I know I'm excited to stay in it because I do want to talk about your fandom.
I understand all of those points. I think they are very fair. I feel like the hardest part.
When Will says he understands points, a lot of times I don't believe
Okay,
but you gotta just
relax.
I'm just going to say that right now. I'm just going to say that right now.
We'll get into the analytics.
Know if he understands.
Time out. So I feel like what's the most painful thing about Taylor saying that is knowing that he didn't necessarily mess with Michigan a whole lot until this. I'll give him even last year too, but Michigan's went to the playoff 2 years in a row.
Yeah.
And now they have the star-studded, like, this is the year. And then they go out throughout the entire year. They prove a lot of people wrong. They do their thing. They win the national title. And he has the audacity afterwards to look at guys who experience loss and just hate when their teams can't pull it out and just say, I think it's harder to be a Michigan fan than the other fan.
But I don't.
It's like he just came in.
But I don't begrudge him for just coming in, because if you're playing, you're probably not. It's like I don't really listen to a bunch of podcasts. Like I know how the sausage is made. Like,
are you saying
if you're
like
a porn star? Are you loving sex every day? Probably not.
I'm saying
I love your takes.
I love Nebraska.
I love Nebraska.
This is why you get here early. Unlike you guys, I've been here at 8 o'clock ready to get.
There was an accident. There was an accident on the highway.
Did anyone get hurt?
Hang on.
No, we didn't check.
I got to go back to that. I've always pulled for Nebraska hard, even when I was playing.
Now, but hold on. But you know the context of why I kind of dipped on Michigan and then slowly but surely came back.
I was going to say something mean that I did not say.
Go ahead, say it.
Taylor was playing.
Oh. I thought that was going to be a shot towards me.
There's a lot of I'm smiling right now, but it's that
I
meme
don't
where it's got the
believe
smile
that.
on it.
Will Compton 3 interceptions. Go look it up.
Thank you.
Fucking 10 years in the pros.
I had a couple of years. That was a
I
nice
just had
little
to
run.
say
That was a
you laid it up for me.
crazy
You laid it up for me. I don't mean it, but I had to say it because it came in my head.
Did you mean it a little bit there?
No, I did not mean it at all.
If it went through your head, there's some truth.
I did not mean it at all. The other might be a little straight. I did not mean it at all. I did not mean it at all.
Locker room guy, though. Locker room guy.
Number one locker room.
Number one locker room guy.
I mean, he does that for us, and when he comes every week during the football season. It's Chicago HQ. He's a locker room guy. People are pumped when he comes in.
If you look at
that's a fact.
I'm just envisioning the
how are we going to
Big
move
Cat
on
saying that. I'm just sitting there smiling, just staring at him, and just zooming in on my face.
Kill you. Yeah, that was a mean thing to say, but I preface it by saying it was mean.
Yeah.
How do you?
You anchored my emotion.
When you look at fandom, though, like you've done a good job of being a fan of the Bears and obviously going the roller coaster.
Yeah.
Being Will Compton and his undying loyalty to Nebraska. Is that something you respect, or is that something you think
I respect the hell out of it, because it's the what's the saying, like the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over, expecting different results.
Mitch Parsley.
Yeah, right. Like I respect Will rides and dies with them.
Yeah.
And like there's something about when Will gets talking about Nebraska, like he does kind of sway me, where he's like, yeah, like if you just turn off like interceptions and injuries, like this team is good. And I'm like, you know what? You're right. If you do that.
And truly
So,
on the bank.
He does. He will. I mean, Will's a master motivator. Like he
does a
can
great
motivate
job.
anyone.
I appreciate you for trying to lift me back up.
I said it was mean.
It was mean.
Yeah.
Should we pivot to Pardon My Take?
What do you want to talk about?
You guys have
I
had
thought you quit soon.
I am quitting Zen, but just like when you go through a breakup, you're going to call her a couple of times.
Okay.
So right now I'm like
Okay.
trying out Road today,
Okay.
tomorrow Lucy, and then
Okay.
after that on.
Okay.
How do you keep the same level of enthusiasm?
Hey, real
when
quick
you've
though,
had-
hold on. I was trying to hide that the whole time.
Oh, my
He's
bad.
called me out big
Yeah.
time. No, still keep it. Still
Okay.
keep it.
I was gonna say, how do you keep the same level of enthusiasm for your podcast that's been number one for I don't know how many years running? Let's say at least 3, right?
I mean, Travis Kelce started.
But that's an
Cheat
asterisk.
code.
That's an
That's
asterisk. But in the
He
real
turned off interceptions.
Yeah,
He turned off
that's a total asterisk.
In the
They
real-
only do one episode a week, and they're like, hey, Taylor Swift. Everyone's tuning in for Taylor Swift. It's bullshit.
and but the real podcasters of the world
Yeah, in the
understand
mud.
that you
We're
guys
in the
are
mud.
like, yes.
Yeah.
Being on top for as long as you guys have, how do you keep that same level of enthusiasm throughout the entire year? Like you guys drop 3 pods a week. Even when Taylor and I flirt with the idea of 2, we quickly remember just the monotony of doing 2 and be like, bro, think of how much we have to just come back in and like try to come up with just more bullshit. And
Well,
then
that's
you guys
smart of you guys,
deliver
by the way.
3 days a week.
That's smart of you guys, because we had the same, like when we started Pardon My Take, people were like 5 days a week, 5 to 8 days a week. And we flirted with like a Saturday episode. And we're like, wait, hold on. Like, you got to know your own limits. Like, of is it going to be diminishing returns? So you guys are smart for that. I would say, I mean, number one is like, it's just fun to talk about sports. Like, and we've always from the beginning been like, sports is supposed to be fun. We're supposed to entertain people, make people laugh, talk about sports. Like, don't get too serious. Never think that you're bigger than, like, I'm pretty honest with who I am. Like, I'm not a very smart guy. I think I can be somewhat entertaining on the mic, but like, at the end of the day, like, I don't think I have some special skill that has people being like, oh, I got to listen to him. It's just the consistency. And more than anything, it's the changing sports calendar. That's the big thing. Like, when we get to the end of football season, I'm ready for football season to be over. You know what I mean? And then I love college basketball, and I love talking about NBA and like that stuff. So that's really kind of like what drives it all is like loving all sports.
But you got to be on. Like I think you do have a skill because you still have to be on. Like you have to be in it. Like you can't just be lazy one week. Like you guys will go and record after Sunday Night Football, like, at midnight.
Yeah.
And you got to be like on your shit because people smoke out like if you're just bullshitting.
And that's with a family as well.
Yeah.
That's with all the streaming and everything. And you walk into a building, every single guy, where maybe not everybody else in the building is having the same amount of workload as you, but maybe complaining more and all that. And you have to sit through the bullshit. Now you're a boss here too. So it becomes, you have a lot on your plate.
Yeah, it is a lot on plate, but I think it actually, like, it's a little thing. It happens actually every Sunday, which I don't know when this will switch when my kids get a little older and they're like, oh, wait, your job is like really dumb. But when I leave to go to watch football, they're like, all right, I'm going to work. Like, let me get a hug and kiss. Like, you're going to watch TV? I'm like, yep, that's work. So it's like having that mindset of like, yeah, there's long nights, but fuck, it's the best job in the world. Like I couldn't dream of a better job.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I get to watch sports for a living, talk about sports. It's a joke.
And you talked about, like, you say you have the best job in the world, but when you got to Barstool, like, did you see it turning into what it is now?
No.
Obviously not.
No.
What was give us a little bit of an origin story.
Yeah, there was definitely some time. So like when we first started, it was just a blog. And there was definitely moments.
And how many guys were doing the blog where it was just a blog?
7 or 8 of us. So it was like Dave, Gaz, Hank, Lewis in Boston, Kevin and K. Marco in New York. Philly was Mo and Smitty, me, Nate in DC, Trent in Iowa. So yeah, it was like whatever, that's like 10. And it was so fun, but there was also a moment where I think Kevin had the same feeling, and that's why he started podcasting, which was genius by him, of like, there has to be more. We have to evolve because like I can't be 40 years old. I'm not 40 yet. Hank's trying to tell everyone I'm 40. You can't be 40 years old sitting in your underwear like blogging every day. You know what I mean? Like you have to find more. So the good thing that happened with Barstool is like every time it felt like I was not looking for something else, but like feeling like that itch of like what's more, it kind of happened naturally. Like right when Chernin bought us in 2015, 2016 was right when I was like getting to the point where I was like, what's the next thing? Like, what are we going to do next? And then it, moved to New York and all that stuff, and we blew it up. So it's like, it's been good that every time I've felt that itch, there's been an answer internally, and even like the Chicago office now, like that has been like, PFT and I could have stayed in New York and just kept on doing Part of My Take every day or every 3 days for the rest of the time and probably made a really good living. But it's like, I want something different. You know what I mean? Like I want space. I want to be able to try new things. So like always trying to like think of what's next and like evolving and not being happy with like what you're doing right then.
How'd you come across Barstool? Like, were you just?
It was on, there's a website called covers.com that used to have message boards for all of like the sports, and it was just gamblers. And so like I've been gambling my whole life, and I used to like the dumb gambler brain thing is like you go, like, oh, there's a game tonight. I want to bet the over. Let me go on Covers, and I'll just pretty much find someone who's like, oh, I like the over, and here's why. It's like, oh, see, I knew I was going to bet the over.
Yeah.
And Dave wrote like articles on there, like guest articles being like mortal locks and stuff. And I was like, well, if he's saying mortal lock, like it has to be a mortal lock. It turns out it wasn't.
Yeah.
But like, and then finding that and just being like, this is pretty cool. And like, it just, like the gambling piece, people complain about, and I understand it. People don't want to hear about our bets. I get it. But like at its core, Barstool has always been like gambling. You know what I mean? And Dave, like if I had to distill me and Dave's relationship down to like, what's the foundation of our relationship? It's like gambling and watching like Danny Boy Kane clips. That's it. Like obviously our relationship is more than that. But like if say everything fell apart, like I would still text Dave being like, you got any action tonight? Like you betting anything tonight? Or did you see Danny Boy Kane did a press conference about like a 3-star recruit they got? Like that would still be there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Now, are you just like, did you just like reach out saying like, hey, I'd love to blog with you guys?
Yeah,
I just like write and cover this stuff.
Because back in the day, it was just a blog, so it was just like, hey, like here's a sample, and like I was working in real estate. I hit that like quarter life crisis where like everyone you guys obviously didn't have us because you were playing professional football. It actually might be similar to what happens to guys when they retire, where they're like, what's the rest of my life going to be? So like I was working in real estate. I had a nice job. I had the worst real estate career of all time. I got into real estate in 2007. Like 6 months in, the market completely crashed. They fired everyone in the company pretty much except me because I was making $30,000 a year. And they're like, well, he's making nothing and we'll just make him do everything.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then I got out in 2012, which when the market came back. So I literally was the worst person in the world in terms of real estate. But yeah, like you get to that itch. I think most guys have this where they get to like the late 20s and they're like, what's next? What's going to be the rest of my life?
Right.
So it's like just trying to find that. And I'm lucky. I mean, I hate when people talk about their success story and don't mention the fact that like luck has a lot to do with everything. Like luck has everything to do with, you know what I mean? Like you guys obviously had the skills to be in the league, but like there had to have been moments that luck came into play. If I didn't get this lucky bounce, it would have gone totally different. And like I just hate like some of like the, you know, Instagram influencers or TikTok influencers are like, oh, all you got to do is this, and this, you'll be a millionaire. It's like, you need some fucking luck, dude.
Right.
You need a lot of luck.
We interrupt this episode to bring you Shipt. Shipt offers reliable, trustworthy same-day shopping and delivery. The joy of real human connection is why customers choose Shipt. That means connecting with us and having way more time to connect with people around them. We're here for all customer needs because we offer a full range of retail options for same-day delivery needs. We're able to bring a big and small delights to our members' busy lives. Get everything you need for the big game delivered with Shipt. Shipt makes shopping from your local stores easy so you don't have to waste any time. Get everything you need, snacks, drinks, hangover supplies, in as soon as 1 hour. Shipt connects you with trusted personalized shoppers that meet your needs. They're proactive, solution-oriented, and they know you. They know what you like, they know what you care about, and they want to get it right. Enjoy a 14-day free trial with unlimited deliveries at shipt.com. Back to the episode.
When you reached out to Dave at first, like what was your first impression when you were like meeting Dave Portnoy?
The thing about Dave is like he is who you see. So it wasn't, you know, like I expected who I saw. Like he is who he is.
But at that point it was just blogs.
He was
doing
doing
some
video. He was doing some video too. So, but like Dave has always been the fairest like boss in the entire world. Like Dave really does believe in like if you work hard and you get results, like I will pay you what you deserve. And like back in the day, we were getting paid like I was first getting paid through PayPal. And then it was like checks that he would just mail us. And I just remember like even the first time like we got to like December and it was like I kind of want to raise, like he called me up before I called him and was like, hey, I'm going to bump you to this. Like it was bigger than I thought. Mm-hmm. So it's like he always is fair with that. Like I don't think I've ever even been close to free agency. Like every time I sign a deal, we do it for like 2 years and then we rip it up and do another one. Because he's just like, you need to get paid more. Like this is not fair. So it's like he's the fairest there ever is. Like, it's crazy.
When you're going from real estate to blogging, like at what moment were you seeing like, oh, the Barstool thing could be like a future piece, just outside of writing and having fun all the time? Like we could really get something out of this.
Yeah, I feel like it was a slow grind. It was a slow grind, but it was piece by piece where it's like you hit a blog that hits. Like the Blackhawks winning the Stanley Cup was very big just because like those guys were so nice to me, and like Patrick Sharp, who's a good friend, like let me literally hang out with them after like, and that was huge. Like going around with the Blackhawks, like with the Stanley Cup in the city was crazy. And so those like little pieces just keep piling up, and it's like, oh, we're like you think it's like a rocket ship because in the short term, like Barstool's been, you know, especially since 2016, it feels like it's been like overnight, but it was just like a little slow piece by piece being consistently there for people. And like every day people go into work, don't like their job, go on the blog, read some funny stuff. We used to do a deal where every 35 minutes we had to have a new blog up. So it was like 12 blogs a day. Like literally just, I would wake up, I'd take Stella for a walk, and I'd sit in my computer and I wouldn't get out of my chair until like 4 o'clock. It would just be just being on the internet. Mm-hmm. And I think that consistency that Dave like instilled in all of us is a huge part of it, where people expected to see Barstool every single 35 minutes, like a new blog. And like that goes with podcasting now, and like people set their watch to it where it's like, I want to see this, and you're there for them, and that's huge. That's the advice I give to everyone who ever reaches out being like, oh, I want to get into this. I'm like, it's easy to write a blog or do a podcast for a month. It's month 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Like, are you still doing it? Or you still have the same vigor for it? Because a lot of people can do something for a month and be like, oh, this is awesome. Where's my break? It's like, no, it comes way later when you're consistently doing it for a long time. So
when Chernin came in, is that like a moment where somebody's wanting to come in and invest, or you're like,
it was
hey, this is going to be the next piece?
Dave, Kevin, and I were definitely. It was like me and Kevin kind of versed Dave at that point, where it was like the tension was really high, because what happened was Barstool started making money in that 2013, 14, 15 range. So Dave like started making money because it was his baby. He had been doing it for 15 years. He bought a house. Like he started taking vacations. And Kevin and I were sitting there like, well, we're still making whatever we're making. So it wasn't ever like a boiling point, but it was definitely like there's the seeds of resentment were kind of getting sowed. And Dave has said this before, and I think it's a good analogy. It's like a band. You know what I mean? Like every band, there's one lead singer. And, at some point, the drummer and the bassist are like, well, fuck, I want a little more.
Yeah,
so
we're going on little tours.
Yeah, so Chernin coming in was so huge because it was finally like this idea, like we had equity in the company, but what does that mean? You know what I mean? Equity means nothing if no one buys it. So when he bought it, it was like, oh, fuck. Like that was the first time we got a little bit of money in our pocket. Like, this is awesome. We're all going to move to New York. We're all going to try this thing. So he came along at a perfect time. Couldn't have been better.
When the tension was there, like how did that go down? Like you and Kevin just kind of approaching Dave about a conversation.
Did you guys have conversations yourself?
Yeah, Kevin and I would have conversations to ourselves. I think it was also just, you could see it sometimes like on the rundown, it would come through. Like that's a big thing. Like if the audience is not stupid. They know if like you're not getting along. You know what I mean? They know if there's tension in the room. So I think that we definitely suffered with the rundown, that little stretch, and just trying to figure everything out. Like the first year in New York was fucking insane because it was just throwing like 50 people in a small cramped office and just seeing what worked. And everyone was trying to make it. Everyone was trying to figure out their lane. And it was like, you want to be a good teammate and be supporting everyone. But at the end of the day, it is a business where everyone wants to succeed themselves. So like that tension, you know what I mean, is always there. So I would imagine it's kind of like playing on a NFL roster where it's like, yeah, you want to win, but there's guys who are like, hey, I want to get my catches, I want to get my you know what I mean?
Especially receivers are definitely
right. In the position I was in, it's not like you don't want guys to get hurt, but I just like you understand that you kind of need somebody to go down if you're going to get some opportunity.
It's a shitty thing to think, but it's also human nature.
Right.
And you can't deny it. You can't be like, that's not the truth. Like I want my thing to work. And then part of my take was like part of my take starting and how quickly it got huge was like insane. Like we think about it back. We got very lucky at the right time. PFT, like I wanted PFT to come to Barstool for like 2 years before Chernin bought us. But when Chernin bought us, we finally had the cash to like woo someone like that. And then part of my take starts, and I don't know if I think it's the luck thing where we hit a certain time with podcasting where podcasting started, but it wasn't huge. So there wasn't a million podcasts. And we were the first podcast that it felt like, someone will probably correct me and be like, you're an idiot, that did all sports and did it the way we did it, like having fun with it, not taking ourselves too seriously,
like the common man type stuff.
Right. Like I'm a sports fan. I don't fucking know, the ins and outs of every sport I cover. I watch the game, I root for my teams, and that's what I'm going to tell you. And I see the funny parts.
Yeah. And so when Part of My Take comes and you get PFT over, is that basically how Part of My Take starts, is with you and PFT?
Yeah.
Or like you and others doing Part of My Take? Or are you on Rundown? Like, what shows are you doing?
Well, I was doing Rundown and KFC Radio. So for I think it was like maybe 2 years, it was me, Kevin, and Kevin started KFC Radio himself. And David said this too, like the fact that like we didn't do podcasting till Kevin pushed us to do podcasts is so huge for the company that like he changed the company by being like, let's start doing podcasts. So I did KFC Radio with Kevin in fights. and then I did the rundown, and then I blogged all the time. And it was like, KFC Radio wasn't really a sports show. We'd talk about sports, but it wasn't like fully sports. So once PFT came on, I was like, I have this idea. Let's do this show, and let's see how it goes. And like I said, it was the fact that it hit as quickly as it did. Like, I don't know what would have happened if it didn't. You know what I mean?
When you say it hit quickly, like how quickly was it like, oh, we have traction, we can get the guests we want? Like, when did you think to yourself, if we call this person, they'll come on the show?
So that was probably about 4 or 5 months. The first moment that it really hit was we did an interview with Kyle Wiltshire, who played at Kentucky and Gonzaga, very good basketball player. He came on before the tournament, and he told us a story about Adam Morrison having an apocalypse bunker. And everyone picked it up.
Awesome.
Everyone, every news story, every news site picked it up. They're like, Adam Morrison has an apocalypse bunker? That's fucking crazy. And that was the first time we're like, oh, fuck. Like, people are listening. And then what was huge was Adam Morrison being a really fucking cool guy and agreeing to come on and be like, I don't actually have an apocalypse bunker. I just have some guns. Like, it's not that big.
He's in a basement with a couple of guns.
Yeah, he's like, he lives in like he lives in like Washington and like in the woods, like not in the woods, but like he lives in a state where it's like, yeah, people own guns. Mm. So him coming on and being cool about it then propelled it where it was like the idea that we're not trying to burn people, we're trying to have fun with this. And then we had Joe Buck and Scott Van Pelt were the other two big ones that summer, where it was like, fuck, this is awesome.
Gotta be something.
And that was the first time where like, I think we can get like most guests.
Because you see so many like people that start podcasts, and I'm sure your DMs are flooded with, hey, I started this podcast, can I come on? But then you go look, people will DM me and be like, hey, can you come on my show? And I'll go and look at their YouTube, and they'll be like, they'll put a podcast out every 3 weeks, right? Every month,
right?
Like, were you guys consistently at 3 immediately?
Yeah,
or was it like we have to do it right away?
So the first episode of Pardon My Take was a disaster, like total disaster, because and this goes back to like the evolving thing, quickly pivoting off of things that don't work. We started the show and our idea was to tape it in the mornings. So like Monday morning at like 9 a.m., we tape it, Hank would edit it, it'd be out at like noon. We also were trying to do like we don't want to be a long podcast. We want to be something that people can just listen to like on their lunch break. So we had the idea of doing interviews instead of 5 good minutes that PTI does, we were going to do 4 good minutes. That was the dumbest idea ever. I think we had Chris Long on and we started playing the play it off music, like the Oscars music, like, 3.5 minutes in, we hadn't even asked him a question. So we had like reggaeton, like sound effects and shit. It was weird, but we quickly were like, this doesn't work. Like we got to do night. We got to do longer. We can't like be cutting off guests. So like that, yeah, the first like week, I remember people were like, this show sucks. But we pivoted very quickly. And we're like, yeah, 3 times a week. Yeah, people did want us to do 5 times a week, which would have killed us. And we did like a Saturday show a couple times, but that was another one where it's like, wait, why are we doing like 3's good? You know what I mean? Like 3 shows a week is good. We don't need to push it to a point where we're burning ourselves out and burning the listener out. Because you guys know it, like when you start a podcast and you start something that people are drawn to, it's very important to make it accessible that people can listen and feel like they're on the inside of the joke. So if you flood them with 5, 6 episodes a week, now they're like, wait, I missed an episode. What are they talking about? Because it's like you guys do the same thing where there's a storyline that goes throughout the whole show. And it's very important that the listeners feel like they're in on the combo and they're not missing stuff. So being like, oh yeah, here's 15 hours a week that you got to listen to. That's tough.
Yeah.
Tries to do a job for the consumer.
Right.
Yeah.
And then they miss one and they're like, wait, what's that inside joke I missed?
Then they feel like they're behind and slowly.
Then they slowly just get out of it. Yeah. Once you have them miss one, like it's easier to miss the second one.
When, at what point does Erica come into the equation?
She was hired with the Churning guys. Dave hired her after Churning came in. So it was funny. We had, I actually don't know if I've told this story. So we interviewed a bunch of people. The whole move to New York was like, we're going to beef it up. We're going to hire the right staff. We're going to hire like an all business Pete, Loud Sean, who's no longer with us, but he's not dead. He's no longer at Barstool. I realized as I said that, I was like, that sounds like he's dead. We interviewed probably 30 different CEOs where Dave would interview him in person and then he'd pass him off to me, Kevin, and K Marco, and we'd talk to him on the phone. And he met Erica, hit it off right away. I actually talked to Erica on the phone, and I think that I might I remember that the churning guys got mad at me because I scared her a little bit about the job. Because my thing was Dave can sell to anyone. So Dave sits in a room with you, you're gonna be like, yes, I'm in.
Mm-hmm.
I remember I was taking the approach of when I talked to these potential CEOs being like, this is the best job. Here are the issues with what we have right now. We're disorganized. We're kind of all at each other's throats all the time. And I said all this stuff. And then I remember I got a call from, I think, Kearns after. He's like, what the fuck did you say to her?
And she called them?
Yeah.
Because what was Erica saying? Hey, I don't know if this is.
Yeah, maybe she had cold feet for a second. She ended up being fine. I was I just was literally saying this is not the easiest job in the world.
Mm-hmm.
I was trying to be honest, because I wanted someone.
Hey, do you have any clue what you're getting?
Yeah, I wanted whoever took the job to not be blindsided and be wait, these guys are fucking idiots, because we were. So I want to be listen, we don't know what we're doing, at all. And so we need a lot of help. And she was incredible. I mean, she changed my life. I mean, it's sad that she's leaving Barstool, but the entrance of Erica to be that yin and yang of Dave was great, because Dave, the other part about Dave, which he's very honest about it, he doesn't want to hear people complain. He doesn't, if you go into Dave's office, you're I'm not getting enough shot. I'm not doing, shut the fuck up. Go to work.
Right.
But there is a human nature of working for a company where people complain. And Erica was really good at being able to internalize those, people would go to Erica, talk to her, and she'd be all right, we'll figure it out. That type of stuff.
Feel like they're being heard.
Right.
Yeah.
That's a big part of it. And Dave is very honest that he doesn't care about you being heard. So it's you know what to expect. People will still be stunned when they'll be Dave, why did you do this decision? Why did you do this? Or why isn't he listening to this? Dude, you've been working for Dave for a long time. You can't figure it out. You use what Dave is to your benefit. He is fair. He's not going to watch everything. If you do a good job, he will reward you. And know that any complaint that you send to him, he's just not going to care about.
Not a words of affirmation guy, though. Is
Right.
he ever going to say good job? There's a clip of you saying he texted you one time and said good blog.
Yeah, I think I got one. It was an email. It was good video that you did. Or yeah, it was good blog. And then there was one other time there was a video. There's been 2 times in my career where Dave's been slapped me on the ass. So
yeah.
You guys probably had coaches like that. Who cares? Once you realize it, it's okay, I know what to deal with. I know that I'm not going to seek his approval, because it's never going to happen that way. So just figure it out and do it the right way.
How quickly do you see turnover in Barstool throughout the years based on people coming from a Fox or an ESPN or these more mainstream, and then walking into this thinking they have to be buttoned up, we're doing a show organized, to hey, we're really just today we just sat here and we're in a conversation that we just press record.
Right. Yeah, I think there's been some misses in hires, but I mean everyone we hired, we did it with good intentions of trying to grow the brand, but there's people on the outside of Barstool, in the ESPN Fox world, I think there's this idea that they're if I could swear, if I could do it like you guys, I would crush it. And then they get there and they're well, this is a lot different. A lot of the shit we do is spur of the moment, live off the top of your head. And that is a skill that you have to get over time. So yeah, it's definitely had some failures with some of the hires, but you got to take shots.
Yeah.
You guys are a success story. That was, I mean, when we look at the best hires, you guys are up there. You know what I mean?
Thanks, Big Cat.
No, it's true though, because you guys got it right away. Some may say you got it because you just read the PMT playbook, but
A lot of people say that.
A lot of people say that.
It's good that I love you guys so much, because sometimes people be dude, they're ripping you off. I don't care. I fucking love those guys. If I didn't like you guys, I would be mad.
Has there ever been an employee, obviously that's not here anymore, that you just fucking hated?
Or worst hire.
Worst
hire. I mean, that would probably be the Michael Rappaport was probably the worst hire, which is crazy because
That was such a public breakup.
That was such a public breakup.
I don't really know the storyline of that.
So he got hired. The craziest part about the Michael Rappaport thing is I actually don't regret the hire. Dave and I went out to LA and met with him, and he was a totally normal guy. He came on PMT, I don't know, 3-4 times over the course of the year. And I will stand on it that those interviews were funny. He was funny. He was good on the mic. But something changed in his brain. And he also was one of those guys that culturally didn't fully fit, where he'd come to the office and he would maybe say hello to like me and Kevin and Dave, but not everyone else, and like that rubs people the wrong way. But yeah, that was a public breakup that did not go well.
Mm-hmm.
But again, I don't regret it because you got to do those. You got to take those shots, you know?
Right. Like leaning into that stuff, which is very uncomfortable for a lot of people. But then you kind of look at the history of Barstool and a lot of those public moments, it ends up coming back around.
It's the best thing that we do is that we're very honest with our fans, and like when we make mistakes, they're public mistakes, and people love that. Because it's showing all of our flaws. You know
people
what I mean?
love to see the negative over the positive.
Right, and they just love to be like, "Oh, you guys fuck up, you're idiots." Like there's a thing that we used to say, the Barstool Difference, which is not as funny anymore because there's like a lot of jobs at stake and a lot of money at stake. But the Barstool Difference was always like if we put out a video that we worked really hard on and the sound just didn't work, or you know, like the camera was all shaky, or like and people like Barstool Difference, or like we did the rundown once where we just taped an entire rundown with no sound. And then we had to redo it, and it's like impossible to redo.
That's the worst feeling in the world.
We like tried to tell the jokes again, and we just were like, nah, this is fucking lame. And then I think the second one we taped, we just said we started it, we gave it a shot, and then 10 minutes in, we're like, this is fucking stupid. Like we already taped this. And then people enjoy that part where they're like, oh, they're being honest that like they can't do it again.
Yeah, trying to relive a moment is one of the harder things to do.
Right.
Yeah, like if we try to do something, we're like, hey, I'm going to say this again.
Right.
Yeah, well, we had that the S&P where we had to go reshoot the whole A block. That was.
I was mad about Stu Fire.
Let's talk about that.
We know.
What was the deal?
I'm not mad at you guys because you guys are opportunists and you'll take advantage of a small little Jewish man from Long Island. When you say, hey, here's a camera, he's like, I'm in.
Yeah.
That bothered me a little. It's like, Stu, what are you doing, dude?
Barstool
Sports Advisors is his show.
It's a great show. Him giving the backstory on that show and how Dave used to watch him as a kid
Yeah.
and bringing it back was an awesome
I used to watch
story.
the clips
Dude,
all
his
the time.
story was
We saved his life. Did he tell you that part?
He
So he had a gun in his mouth.
he didn't say that. He didn't say
He said
that.
that we saved his life.
We saved his life.
He said he'd come back a whole bunch next year too for something fix.
So what's funny about that is knowing he was going to come on the bus, because I listened to him on obviously following you guys with Sports Advisor and everything else, but I listened to him talk on Spin Chickles. It's like, he's got a nice little story, and so he was planning on coming on. And it just worked out to where the S&P was also happening, and we're very aware of how our show comes off, very advisors like, and so knowing
Same desk.
no,
Yes.
well, that's
Which is
another-
why
hey,
we
time out.
didn't ask for that.
I do need to say that too. Like, although that like imitation, what is it? What's the quote about imitation and flattery?
Form of
Flattery.
Yeah.
Like we'll have conversations with Barstool and the higher ups, and people will be like, "Hey, you should lean into doing this, or you should do that," or we're like, "Hey, we want to do a gambling show," and they sent in a team to build out what it could look like. And it's not like we just knew that it was going to be the same exact set.
Okay.
But knowing that Stu was coming in, I was like, we need to really lean into being the whole knockout, because we see everybody talking about, oh, you guys are just taking this
Down to
around,
the
blah, blah,
thumbnail
blah.
and everything.
And since we know we're changing some things for the gambling show going into next year, it's like it would be really funny to really lean into Stu coming in.
I'll kick him off Barstool Sports.
Perfect. We'll take it.
It was our best show.
He won't do it. He won't.
He says he told us
Stu puts asses in the seat.
he gets
He
paid
does.
no dollars. He said he did the deal with Dave. No. Go ahead. I'll go. He said he did the deal with Dave. And Dave's like, hey, what do you want to get paid? He's like, I just want to run commercials during the show.
Right. That's what he does. That's what he does.
I know.
And then he's like, you don't pay me anything. It's like, Stu, you get a fucking...
You made the deal.
And you get like a huge audience every single week for your tout service. I can't stay mad at Stu. I tried. He called me. He's like, are you mad? I was like, I'm fucking furious. And then he started, I'm so sorry. I would die for you. I'm like, fucking Stu. I'm not mad at you.
I know he didn't get the best birthday shout out, which I hated for him.
Yeah.
And I was like, I knew it was a one-off, and I knew like all the stuff going into it. And he was like, hey,
didn't he?
He did. But
all
before the show, he didn't necessarily. He didn't say
playoffs,
that.
He would never give picks.
Yeah.
You gotta go. Like we did a whole show last year. We didn't give a single pick.
Like
he actually got mad. I was like, it would be like, I don't know, pick a game like Bengals Bills, and he'd be like, no pick. Go to StuFire.com. But if I had your all 4 of your kids hostage, I was like, you gotta give me a pick. they'd be like, I guess I lean Bill. So then we did the whole graphic of all those leans.
Yeah.
And he went like 0-7 and he got so mad at me. You're embarrassing me.
Because Jack put up the photo of us doing the show, and he was like, Hank texted him just being like disappointed. And he goes, another thing too, he's like, I don't really do my playoff picks. I was like, oh, you don't give play? He's like, no, never.
Yeah.
I was like, oh.
Yeah.
He just sits in the show and yells about StuFinder.com and that's it.
Yeah. I mean, regular season he'll give picks, but yeah, he'll just yell about StuFinder.com.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, we ended up this episode to bring you a sponsor. That sponsor, I'm not going to tell you who it is at first. I'm going to tell you when I walk into my house and I want to sit in comfort, there's one specific furniture spot I go to, and that is Ashley Furniture, dude. I got a great big couch that sits in my living room when it's been a long day doing pods, ripping around, grabbing a pump, ripping around with kids. That couch helps get those batteries from negative back to neutral to go conquer another day. And it's also what? It's probably affordable too, Willie, huh?
It is. And if you are in town this weekend in Vegas for the big game, check out Ashley House starting tomorrow. Ashley is popping up at the Dog House in Resorts World, hosting amazing talent all weekend long. Cooper Allen on Thursday, Ernest on Friday, Hardy on Saturday, free admission. So come by if you're around. We're actually going to be there on Saturday to celebrate with Hardy at Ashley's house before the show. See you boys there. Use our code Barstool to save online at ashley.com. Back to the episode.
Yeah, the gambling space is. Have you seen the percentages?
Of what?
My year.
Oh, what'd you do?
I think in the playoffs, I'm 68% right now.
Oh.
Yeah. Overall on the season, I'm like 51.3 or something.
That's
like
losing money.
But that is.
Yeah.
That's the
Listen.
year. It was way harder than I expected because I was talking
So
cocky to you.
hard.
in
You
June.
were cocky.
I was talking
And
cocky.
I was like,
I was
wait till you
more
get in it.
doing that for us to
Yeah,
kind
yeah.
of maybe build something. But 68%.
Yeah, no, that's huge. I mean, gambling is impossible.
Stu looked me in the eyes and he goes, "You'll never have another year like this again."
Yeah,
Like, this will
probably.
be your best year ever, so enjoy it right
Probably true.
now. I was like, "Oh fuck."
Gambling is impossible. Like people will come at us and be like, "Oh, you're, getting people to gamble." It's like I am the most honest person when it comes to gambling on the internet. Like I'm a loser. I lose, but I love doing it. I love gambling. So like, don't follow me. Know that like I'm a loser. Know that you shouldn't gamble more than what you have. Like I gamble more money than I did 10 years ago, but I have more money. Like it's gone up to a point where it's like, it's all relative. Like I'm never gambling money that would hurt my family. You know what I mean?
Does
Like,
your
there's
wife ever tell you to slow down? Is she like, hey, you're kind of getting a little out of control with these nuclear whatever
No,
missiles?
there's a lot of the smart thing that I've done is like I don't have any access to any of my money. So like if my wife got hit by a bus tomorrow, like I don't have a debit card. I don't have like anything. Right?
You just have your account.
But I don't even know. I don't even know how to get into my account. Like, I don't know what my account. Like I don't know the login.
That was me 8 months ago.
So, but I do that because she can see everything I gamble, and it's like she will tell me if it's like, hey, this is getting a little out of hand. But also she gets the freedom of like I've never asked. Like I got fucking couches that God knows what they cost in my house. Like I don't fucking know. So it's like she manages the money. It's like we're good. I'll gamble. I'm good. We'll just keep it like that.
So you don't look at like you get to April, you're looking at the taxes and you see all the losses, and you don't say, all right, I'm going to take X amount of dollars per year, and then that's what I'm going to gamble with. You just hit them.
No, it's usually just whatever I run out. I'm like, hey, ran out again. A little bit back up.
Tail between the legs, just kind of walking over.
It's
honey.
basically my gambling career is basically how like can I last like more than like 3 or 4 months with having to load back up? That's a success for me.
That is.
Yeah. Like the start of the football season was bad. I think I like did a big deposit in August, and then I had to re-up in like October. But then I made it from like October to like mid-January. It's like that was good.
I don't know
I
how
crushed that.
I don't know how public you are with what you bet on nuclear missile whale plays and all that. And we don't have to get into it, but when were you like, man, I can really start putting bets in that make me sweat my ass off?
Yeah. That was probably the last like 2 years or so, maybe 3 years, where I've been like, okay, like this is fun every now and then. Nuclear missile whale plays are usually between $30,000 and $40,000. And then
that makes me sweat.
game of the years are like 50, but I lost a couple of those, and you don't get those back.
Yeah.
You don't get those
Don't get
back.
them,
No. But yeah, when I say that, that's usually what I'm betting.
So when Michigan Alabama goes down, and you and I were texting about who you're rooting for and all that, and you were very much like, I just want Michigan to win strictly for Dave.
Yeah.
Which hurt a little bit because we're friends. But,
yeah, we are.
But understanding, like Dave, like that amount of money, like that, it's a once in a lifetime bet.
Yeah, he bet $1 million on the game, and like I said, Dave and I have been gambling for a very long time. Where I've seen his units go up and my units go up at the same time. Where it's like when he says I'm betting $1 million, like there's a gambling brotherhood behind it. Where it's like I don't like unless he's going against my team, like I'm rooting for him. I want him to win because that's a bet of a lifetime. Say he was rooting really hard for me to win that Eagles future last year. It's like bet of a lifetime. That hurt.
That hurt.
It hurt a lot. Patrick Mahomes just keeps kicking my teeth in.
What do you think happens to Dave? How do you think Dave handles it if Michigan loses to Alabama?
He would have been very down for a very long time. Yeah, that would have been bad. When he wins, he's the best to be around because like I'm kind of similar where it's like if I'm hot, like everyone's getting money, everyone's getting. You know,
we saw on Pro Football Show.
Yeah,
weeks ago.
That's a problem. That's why I don't have my bank account because. If I have money in my pocket, I'm just going to hand it out to you like a fucking idiot. Like I do that all the time where I'm like, wait, what did I just do? Mm-hmm. So, but I don't know. That's the fun part of gambling. Like if I'm hot, I want everyone else to be hot. Like I want us to gamble together. I want us to win together.
Camaraderie.
That's the fun.
There's like a small, like maybe selfish side of you that's like, I want everyone else to be excited about this too.
Yeah.
So you're kind of like, hey, take this. Look out! Hey, how great was this?
You root for this.
Yeah.
You get this. Like so. Yeah. I mean, and I know that that's a stupid way. Like pro gamblers are like you're the dumbest person in the world. I understand that because like money management, all that stuff. But again, if I don't gamble over my means, like I'm gonna do it my way. Where it's like I want everyone to feel that moment together. Mm-hmm. Like, that's why I was telling Willie, you got to come too. Like for March Madness, like that's the best when we just sit in that cave for 4 days. And just gamble on every game. You're just in the trenches. And you just fight at wars with your boys. And you're just fucking, like, everyone get on one bet. Like, let's fucking go. There's no better feeling.
Those Thursday night streams are fun. When everybody, like, we hit the parlay together. We're all checking our phones over and over again.
What's that fucking guy's name? Reggie Gillum?
The tight end?
I tried to get everyone on a Bills.
I thought that was a fake.
This Bills white guy, I think, right?
Yeah.
Third straight. We never saw him on the field.
Goal line.
Never saw him.
They're 11 personnel on the 1 yard line.
Was never on the field.
Why did I trust Big
Reggie Gillum?
When you distribute the wealth like that, when you're really giving it to other people, and Jerry pulls a move like your Ravens future.
Yeah, hurt a lot. The Bills future, yeah.
Bills future.
Yeah.
Where's your guys' relationship stand at now?
We're okay now. Jerry sometimes forgets that like even though I have money, losing money still hurts a lot. Mm-hmm. Like that's just a fact. Like no one wants to lose. So he was playing with fire there. I've forgiven him. He was upset. It was the day before Steelers Bills. I think we all bet Ryan Shakir to score a touchdown, and he scored a touchdown, and we all like went crazy, and he just walked off the stream because it was the Steelers going down 14.
Yeah.
So like that was the villain origin story for him. That was the arc. That's where he became like the Joker.
Mm-hmm.
Bane.
With Barstool HQ in Chicago, how excited were you when the moment where it started to come into fruition that there was going to be a Barstool in Chicago?
It was
the big move was going to take place.
Yeah, it was awesome. And then looking at the spaces, like Hank and I went out. It was probably about 16 months ago to look at all these spaces, and like just seeing the spaces for the first time was like, fuck, man, like this is really going to be everything like we wanted. And it's just, I think I've set up a spot where people just genuinely want to go to work every day because I don't want to get into the whole not working on Fridays, New York office. I know they went through it. Barstool works at its best when people show up. And like every day you're in the mix, you're in the grind. That's where the like beauty comes from. That's where the content comes from. So building a spot like that where people want to come every day and incentivizes them to come every day is everything I wanted because then you get the buzz, you get the people around, you get the ideas flowing. That's it. That's the juice. Like that's what when we first moved to New York and we all stuck in this little office together, some people would probably say that's probably their favorite era of Barstool because it was every day, everyone just sitting on top of each other, like at each other's throats.
Everybody's storylines.
Right, exactly. And then you see it all and it's a reality show. And I know that there's a little bit, like the Chicago office is maybe a little bit different that like I've never been, I embrace the Barstool drama, but I'm never out to try to like create the Barstool drama. If it happens, it's awesome. So there might be a little bit of a different vibe in Chicago where it's like we're pulling for each other a little bit. And that's more just how I've always operated. And it's also like I've told everyone, solely sitting right here, I gave pretty much everyone a speech who was coming to Chicago. I was like, look, I have, let's say 5 to 7 more years of me like working at this pace. I want to get to a point in 5 to 7 years where like everyone who's come with me has elevated to a point where I don't have to work that hard and everyone's like kind of a star on their own. Mm-hmm. So like that's the end goal, and that's how I kind of try to lead.
What does your workload look like after those 5 to 7 years?
I think it would be doing PMT, but maybe I don't know. Yeah, it's a hard thing I wrestle with because like I love my job so much that like I say I want to step back, but do I? I don't know.
You see something going on, you're kind of like, I'm trying to get
that's the itch that if you don't have that itch, then you like that's what. Like, I know Dave watches us in Chicago when we're doing, like, streams and stuff, like the Jerry stream of golf. I know Dave deep down wants to be there. Mm-hmm. Like, I know he's like, enjoying his life, but I know deep down he wants to be there because he and I are wired the same, where it's like, if there's action, we want in. Yeah. And, like, having that feeling is what motivates you to be like, I want to be part of this. I want to do this.
Yeah. How do you find the fulfillment, though, when you do decide to step away? I'd be like, okay, I'm finally going to – we had this conversation in Montana. It's like we're in Bozeman. Like, how do people just – being the life we're in right now,
right?
Thinking about going to live in like a Bozeman, Montana, acres, out of a city, out of like the hustle and bustle. Like, where do you find that area to be like, okay, I'm calm and I'm present? Yeah.
Right. I don't know. I don't know the answer to it. I kind of hope that, and it will suck if this happens, but I'm realistic about it. Like the game retiring you kind of thing, where it's like there'll be a point where you're like you're 50 years old, like we don't care what you say.
Yeah.
Hopefully I have
50 years old shitting yourself.
Yeah. Hopefully I have the self-awareness to realize that before it happens, and then I can be like, all right, like I'm not.
Yeah, that'd be a tough like couple of years where everyone kind of sees you. You're like,
like,
he's losing.
He's lost a step. Yeah, like he's losing.
But how do you lose a step here?
It's not sharp.
Yeah. That is one of the more impressive things about Dan is your ability for recall and staying. Like remembering things, like when we were on the Yak last time I was in Chicago, and then Magician is there. He's like, "You a good liar?" I was like, "I don't know." And you're like, "Well, tell him about the time you did that video of you." And I'm thinking, my only thought was like, "How does he fucking just have that right there in the back of his palm?" And
you know what? I'm not. You know what? I'm gonna.
That was fun.
I'm gonna talk to the camera.
You guys had a field day with that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you loved it.
Oh yeah. Yeah, but yeah, it's
such a trying time in my life.
I'm happy that we were able to make it worse for you.
Yeah, I don't.
The answer, I don't know. Hopefully it will click. Hopefully that moment will happen where I'm just like, all right, like it's good. Because I mean, I think it kind of happened for Dave. I mean, Dave is the model where it's like he doesn't work the same hours he used to work, but he does the things he wants to do and is in the mix for the March Madness, for the Super Bowl, for that type of stuff.
And then everything he does has like a more of a bump now because Dave's a part of which Dave is. Anything he's a part of
every time he's on any show.
But the fact that it's less supply of
it
becomes like more elevated.
He's like oil.
Yeah.
I don't know how.
I know we only have a couple minutes left before we do the.
Let's talk analytics.
Some analytics. We can talk. I feel like we'll be able to do that.
Okay.
Let's talk some analytics. Okay. I mean, analytics kind of burnt, the Lions.
Not really.
Yeah.
No. I wouldn't have. I don't. I think the Lions fucked that up. They should have absolutely just kicked the field goal.
We'll save it.
Yeah.
I have some stats for you.
You can show. Yeah.
Hey, now the down 14 got to go for 2. I think that's.
Hang on. What I wanted to get for the last
genius.
No.
Okay.
I don't think you go for it.
We're gonna sit down and we'll get a piece of paper and we're gonna go through the math. I still don't think
if we're gonna wait on
hold on. When you say that, I don't believe you.
Yeah.
I understand.
Because that's what he'll go ahead and be back. I still don't, think that you understand all this.
The rivalry between Chicago and New York.
Yes.
As the leader of Barstool Chicago,
yes.
Why are you guys better? It's been such one of those clouds of uncomfortable conversations that both sides try to lean into.
It sucks.
Lean into, but also not lean into.
I don't like leaning into it because it sucks. Because people have heard me say this, and they're like, "Oh, you're saying this because you guys are on top right now." Whatever. We still do work for the same company. Like if New York failed, it would be very bad for me. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So it's like, and I'm trying to figure out Fights was in Chicago for a few days last week. It was awesome. Like trying to get it so that people feel like they're feel comfortable coming to our office for a couple days and like mixing it up. I mean, that's why we have the best fans in the world, because they care so much. Mm-hmm. And so if they see something like a rivalry, they're like, we're going to hammer it. Like I've likened it to a million times. Like if you're a fan of a team, if you say your coach sucks or your quarterback sucks, it doesn't mean you don't like your team. You're just complaining about what's going on with the team right now. Mm-hmm. So it's like I never see like the fans saying like, oh, New York sucks, really being like, these guys aren't fans. They're just passionate fans that care a lot and are invested a lot. I hope it works out. I hope they've had a little bit of a rocky couple months, but they'll find it. I mean, you just keep grinding.
Some of those skits are elite.
What? That's the thing is like I think it's too is. I think the difference that people are going to have to realize is like we in Chicago are going to probably put out more day-to-day, like every day, here's content, here's live streams. Mm-hmm. Whereas New York, it might be more tape stuff that is still really good, but it just doesn't have the volume. So it's not like New York's still doing great stuff. It just maybe isn't the same volume as Chicago, but we are more of like going live all the time.
The numbers are going to be skewed.
Right.
Because you have something every single day.
Correct.
Yeah.
Right. Like last week we did like handball one day. Berman came in. We did a stream with him. Like all these things. The Jerry After Dark stream.
Like needles.
We're doing it. That was one of the dumbest ideas I've ever had.
How long did that take?
6 hours. It was
not bad.
You had to be an hour too. Like goddamn.
Dude, we didn't find the first needle for the first 30 minutes. I was like, what the fuck are we doing? It's my birthday.
Giant ass hay bales too.
Yeah.
It was my birthday.
What are we doing right
now? Tell PFT happy birthday and go home?
Yeah. Did the kiss and then went home.
How many guys have you kissed?
A lot.
Because there was a whole
but you'd rather
catalog.
I've kissed
Brandon. Just amputate your leg?
Yeah, I mean kissing too. You don't kiss your bros?
I mean, I have.
Yeah. What? Come on, man.
Come on, Will.
You kiss?
Will's that try that in a small town.
Bro, they're bringing back the word gay a lot.
That's a great word. It's a great
really
word.
Yeah. Hammer it.
It's really it's coming back.
You saw the Dan Orlovsky reply?
Yeah. I like it because every time I see you do it, I'm like, well, you can't go to ESPN now. It's great. You're putting yourself in handcuffs.
I see Dan and I'm just thinking like, bro, no one's thinking that you're better than, or you're claiming to be better than everybody else. Like, embrace your moment. Like, you have a good little moment.
Yeah, he did have a good moment.
Like, ride it a little bit. Embrace yourself. Brag on yourself.
Throwing?
Yeah, Orlovsky was number one in the
beat
scoring.
all.
And he's just like, man, I don't have an ounce of talent that everybody else on the list does. I'm just thinking,
get rid of the humility. Run that a little bit.
Yeah, we all know you're a great guy.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming on, though, bro.
I love you
know
guys.
We got to get to the yak.
Yeah.
Want to do Twisted Question in the after?
Yeah, we can. Do you have one?
Yeah, Mitch sent me one.
Let's hear it.
So Mitch, I don't know if you followed. Mitch has had a really hard time with his twisted questions. They've been awful. Like one of them was, would you rather stop cursing or give up ice cream?
Yeah, we were hitting.
I don't know if we were recording then.
Oh, I got you.
Yeah.
This twisted question is brought to you by Twisted Tea, the smoothest hard iced tea out there, kicking off the new year right, championship season, the big game this weekend. Keep it twisted with Twisted Tea. Kick off your 2024 with a Twisted Tea today. Good luck to Mitch Carsley on the twisted question.
Would you rather fight a chicken every time you get into a vehicle or fight off an orangutan once a year? One of y'all repeat it.
Would you rather fight a chicken every time you get into a vehicle or fight an orangutan once a year?
Probably the orangutan.
Rate
you
the
would
question.
get fucking
Rate
destroyed.
the question.
The orangutan would literally rip you apart.
Nah, dude. I'd fuck up an orangutan.
No shots.
You guys,
I love that confidence.
Well, see, the problem with some of these hypotheticals is like if you give me any hypothetical, like, oh, would you rather like fight a shark or a bear? I can just say like I would kick the shit out of a bear. You guys, how can you prove that I couldn't?
I don't know. Like,
I'm never gonna see a bear.
All the videos.
I'd fuck a bear up.
Squaring up with an orangutan.
But you realize like I can just say whatever.
Chickens, you can literally just grab by the neck real quick and just do that.
Yeah, but what if you like forget your keys?
Oh,
or
so
like
you
you
leave
forget
to go
something
back
in your
in?
house. Yeah, you're like, oh fuck, I forgot my kid's lunch. Like I just have fallen off a chicken. Now I gotta fight off another chicken. That sucks. That gets tedious, dude.
But chickens aren't roosters. Roosters have talents. Chickens don't have a lot going on.
Just grab its neck and just smash it.
You would just literally you just grab it.
That's what I do to the orangutan.
What's that?
You got 12, don't you?
Yeah,
I feel like that's every basic bitch who goes to Nashville does that.
Oh, I don't know if that'd be nasty like that. I'm not gonna say that. Free eggs.
Puts the hat Puts a hat on.
Overalls, walk out, get
Like,
going. I have a whole outfit I
I'm
get into every single
slumming it.
day. Yeah.
I know how it is
Tell
to be a
everybody I just
farmer.
got some chickens.
What's that?
You know, I just got some chickens. The free range eggs are a little
What's the
better
movie
than
with Dave
store-bought.
Franco? And he's like the tech genius, and he's dating the girl, and the dad comes in.
Why him?
Yeah,
why
I
him?
never
There's a scene of him like feeding the chickens, and he has like a guy that fights him once a day, like randomly that he has to learn because he doesn't have security. And he takes a chicken, he throws it at the guy. It is one of the funniest scenes. But since you haven't seen it, something.
All right. Well, thank you, boys.
Yeah, thank you.
Appreciate
Big
it.
Guys, have a
Love
good
you
weekend.
guys. Love coming on.